Has wokeness and identity politics, has it officially ran its course in film? Before I talk about this article detailing Marvel's, let's just say, standing order or the potential standing order of them abandoning all activists in their film, and of course Lucasfilm doubling down on the craziness, I want you guys to go ahead and know real quick that this is not my normal type content, but I felt like doing this video here in particular because I do think it does fit the overall film of the channel. Now, this channel, for the most part, as you guys know, is a culture channel. And, of course, right now I'm covering more and more politics because of the election. But I didn't want to just keep covering the election for a day. I just wanted to go and just kind of throw this video out here so that way you guys could kind of see what the hell is going on in Tinseltown. Because, believe it or not, the world of pop culture is actually a pretty important battlefield to fight back against our enemies on. Just going to go ahead and say this. I mean, how in the world do you think they propagandize so many people? They do it a lot of ways through propaganda, and of course, they've obviously stuck their claws to the world of sports. Of course, this was originally a sports channel, but don't worry, there will be updates at the end of the video because, as you guys know, it's 2024. It's an election year. I'm covering the election a little bit more often than I am the normal stuff that I am covering, but we're going to be getting back to that soon, so make sure you guys stick around for the full video. There are going to be some updates on that. So, why is this topic coming up? Well, Marvel recently released a film. And yes, you guys are seeing some of that stuff in the B-roll footage. I went to the movie theater last week and actually saw Deadpool and Wolverine. And it has been a resounding success. Now, what I think of the film, I don't think is relevant for this movie here. I just know that I laughed my butt off, but I also cringe like crazy as well. And of course, if you've seen the Deadpool films, then I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. I think this one right here was the cringiest of Deadpool films, but also the funniest. Very, very weird how that happens. But still, though, like I said, it's not really a movie review. However, it has got some people speculating that Marvel is seeing the writing on the wall and they're seeing how it is that their Phase 4 has not exactly gone the way it was supposed to go. So much to the point to where they have to bring back Robert Downey Jr. to come back into the MCU to play the role of Doctor Doom. I'm not going to get on how I think that will work. I may give you guys my thoughts at the end of this video on how it is they may try to pull this off, but still, though, that's not the subject at hand. So basically, I come across the Critical Drinker and I come across Dave Cullen because obviously I'm subscribed to those guys and I do listen to their content right regularly. And of course, they detailed an article that I would eventually go back and look at, and guess what we would find out? Marvel is in fact done with the activist side of films. Let me just roll this for you guys.
All the producers that could be labeled activist, Lucasfilm doubling down on all the nonsense. As the old adage goes, the more things change, the more things stay the same. According to a new whisper from within the halls of Disney, while Marvel Studios has reportedly learned from their recent mistakes and cleaned house of any and all of its activist producers, Lucasfilm is choosing to keep on their creatively bankrupt path to self-destruction. Oh dear. So there's no good news for Star Wars fans, it appears, unfortunately. Possibly better for the MCU, though. Word of this apparent divergence between the House of Mouse's two subsidiary studios was raised first on August 2nd by Film Threat founder Chris Gore during a recent appearance on the Critical Drinkers Open Bar podcast, offering his thoughts on the Marvel Studios' near-future outlook in light of their showing at the recent 2024 San Diego Comic-Con. Gore...
real quick, before we get started, I normally don't like borrowing from other content creators. I normally borrow from the news media or what I see is being reported on Twitter or what I see is being reported on Facebook. Clips, of course, respond to them. And of course, before we talk about that, I just want to go ahead and kind of get that out of the way. It's part of the reason why it is that video and the one that I'm about to show you guys now are going to be linked in the description box. Of course, I try to give full credit to the content creator, so that way they kind of sort of know that I'm not just stealing their crap. Fifthly, I'm kind of promoting their channel. I watch these guys from time to time as well. But speaking of that clip, speaking of what my man said, speaking of what the insider said, well, here's that clip.
Show.
I do know people who work at Marvel. They have cleaned house. They quietly months ago fired all the producers that could be labeled activist.
Really?
Yes. Unlike Lucasfilm, Lucasfilm is lost. They're lost.
Okay.
That's it.
What I like
They
to
are
hear.
doubling down on all the nonsense, right? You will never get anything good out of Lucasfilm and Star Wars. That's it. Kevin Feige recognizes he even yeah, I'm not going to say exactly. Basically, he said that we tried it. It didn't work. He's talking about phase 4.
Okay, so why might Marvel? Why might Marvel be saying, you know what, we need to get rid of all the activists? Well, it's kind of like my man said. They tried it, and then they said, you know what, this one is obviously not working out for us. And not only is it not working out for us, but we could destroy our brand, not just for the here and now, but going forward. Now, I want to bring it back to Deadpool Wolverine just for a quick second. And like I said, it's not really a film review or anything like that, even though I'm going to dabble on it just for a quick second. I did say a while ago that it was the cringiest film I'd ever seen, but also the funniest film I'd ever seen, or at least of the trilogy. The reason why I said that is because it was actually a nod to make fun of Marvel's past failures. A lot of people were laughing at the film. I mean, because when I went to go see it, people thought it was absolutely hilarious. But like I said, there were also moments where people just, quite frankly, didn't get what the hell was going on. It was almost like a love letter to those original 20th Century Fox films that were Marvel related, like the first X-Men, the original X-Men trilogy, stuff like that. That's basically what it was a love letter to films like that. I mean, there's even references in the film to the Punisher. There's even Electro. Jennifer Garner makes an appearance as well. Don't want to spoil anything for you, but if you guys want to see the film, it's obviously still in theaters. It's making a lot of money. Did you think that maybe Deadpool was making a lot of money because it is, for the most part, Deadpool, and of course, also to go on top of that is Deadpool matched up with Wolverine? Kind of a dream film that people wanted. But still, at the same time, though, I think that what's going on is that people, for the most part, want to be entertained. And I think that Kevin Feige at Marvel, they sort of understand that. Hence the rest of the article.
His optimism, Gore then asserted, I do know people who work at Marvel. They quietly, months ago, fired all the producers that could be labelled activist. Unlike Lucasfilm, he declared, Lucasfilm is lost. They are doubling down on all the nonsense. You will never get anything good out of Lucasfilm and Star Wars. That's it. Turning to explain the reasons behind Marvel Studios' apparent house cleaning, Gore detailed Kevin Feige recognises, basically he said, he tried it, it didn't work. He's talking about Phase 4, continued the noted film critic, that it's tried, it didn't work, no Kang, none of these side characters that don't have the legacy of classic characters. And if Deadpool and Wolverine proves anything, you've heard that phrase, male and pale is stale. That was spoken aloud across studios, but if you look at box office this year, I would say male and pale is money, and that's the phrase that I think people should more adopt.
Lucasfilm will continue to double down on the nonsense. I mean, what Kathleen Kennedy has done to Star Wars, and even Indiana Jones, it's atrocious. It's a crime against humanity, if you ask me. I mean, look, just take a look at Mark Hamill. I mean, look at how far he's fallen. Of course, a lot of people forget that, I'm going to say this is probably going to get me in trouble with Star Wars fans, but I don't really care. Mark Hamill's entire career, he's only known for really one role, Luke Skywalker. Yes, he was the voice of the Joker on Batman the Animated Series. Yes, he was the voice of Hobgoblin in the Spider-Man Animated Series. The one that Fox produced back in the early 90s, which I think is really, this is back when Marvel really began to get its swing back into pop culture, because for a while there, Marvel wasn't doing too good. All you got to do is look at the 1990s cartoons that were coming out with X-Men and, of course, Spider-Man. The thing is this right here, though. Lucasfilm versus Marvel, they can't seem to take a hint. But then again, though, at the same time, though, it may be by design, because there's a guy who detailed, I think his name was Patrick CC. I think I'm going to leave this video in the description box for you guys as well. He detailed how it was that Disney did not seem to care, and that they were all about pushing the identity politics, and they didn't care exactly how much money they lost in the process. Whereas Marvel, on the other hand, who, by the way, is owned by Disney at this moment in time, they see the writing on the wall, and they say, you know what, we need to stick back to what it was that got us where we were. The first 3 phases of the MCU, they were great. The films made a lot of money. Not all the films were great. My personal favorite film, there's a difference between the best film and your favorite film, okay? My personal favorite film in the MCU was the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. The best film in the entire series, if you ask me, was probably Infinity War. Not Endgame, Infinity War. But still, the point is this right here. Kevin Feige, they're looking at this and they're saying, you know what, dude, this crap right here is just not working for us. Go back to pale, male, and stale. It makes us money. I mean, this right here is the only color that matters is green. That's essentially what Kevin Feige and Marvel are saying at this moment in time. One more thing, too. It's not just Marvel. I want to say it's Warner Brothers as a whole has decided to drop the whole wokeness activist crap, too. I'm not going to go too much into detail on that one, but if you know more than I do in the description, please leave something in the comment section. But the recent film Twisters, which is I guess you could say is a reboot of the Twister movie that came out in 1996. I'm just kind of going off the fly here. Their director chose to abandon any type of references to CG at all. Now, I say CG because of the way the algorithm works, because if you say the full words, you will get one of the stickers put on your video, and of course, it will find a way to get censored. The fact of the matter is this right here. Directors and producers are starting to see that this whole identity politics crap is nothing more than something that's just going to lose you money. That's all the hell it's going to do. And I think a lot of these people are saying, you know what, screw this. Let's get back to, quite frankly, what it is that we should be doing, which is producing good films. Stay away from the politics, tell good stories, all that type of good stuff there. Or as what the drinker would say to finish off his video,
It's almost as if people just want fun, escapist entertainment that lets them forget their troubles for a couple of hours. And if you actually give it to them, then they'll turn up for your movie in droves. Case in point, Deadpool and Wolverine, which has only been out for like 2 weekends and is already well on its way towards $1 billion. And strangely enough, it's a movie that flat out ignores and even rejects most of the tedious tropes of modern Marvel movies. The insufferable know-it-all girl bosses who are always the best at everything, the awkward current day-isms, and the clumsy attempts to replace legacy characters with more diverse alternatives. For the most part, it's just a fun, irreverent, old-fashioned superhero movie, and whatever its shortcomings compared to its predecessors, it's still miles more entertaining than anything else Marvel have produced in recent years. Jesus, it even has the balls to openly mock the MCU's recent string of failures, which is a pretty frank admission from Marvel that they...
if I didn't say it already, I think in the case of Deadpool Wolverine, it's just a film that people already knew was going to be hilarious. So obviously they're going to show up and they're going to watch it. And as I said before, it was obviously the most hilarious of the three, but it was also the cringiest of the three. The fact of the matter is that people kind of sort of already knew what they were going to get with Deadpool. So obviously they're going to show up and they're going to watch it because it's almost like a breath of fresh air compared to all the other crap that Marvel has produced. Lucasfilm, on the other hand, is a different story altogether, but I'm pretty sure you guys know what I mean. Let me also say this right here. It's not just Marvel. It's also what I mentioned earlier. Take the film Twisters, which, by the way, the drinker talked about as well, because the director of that film wanted to stay away from certain buzzwords that they love to use in the media. Yeah, type of words like, you know, that would be put on your actual YouTube videos that actually stymie it further in the algorithm. I mean, I'm just saying that there was obviously something that was mentioned about that as well. And of course, it's true. People just don't want to be preached to, case in point.
For example, Lee Chung, the director of Twisters, straight up admitted that he refused to put any references to climate change into his movie because he believes films like this should be about entertainment, not lecturing people. There is absolutely no way a director would have had the balls to say something like that even a couple of years ago. Not just that, but the movie dares to show both the male and female leads as competent, intelligent, and courageous individuals, complementing rather than competing against each other, with only one side ever allowed to come out on top.
Also, something else too that needs to be said, and I think that modern Hollywood, especially the activist writers, don't seem to understand this. People go to watch movies for certain reasons, okay? Like, let me throw this out here. And, of course, you're going to hear me mentioning about Deadpool again. Marvel films are not designed to be political. They're designed to be straight up enjoyed. You're supposed to kind of get lost in that. You're supposed to try to, like, find your inner kid. I had a conversation yesterday about the possibility of what would happen if I lost my childlike self. Obviously, a guy my age obviously needs to be doing mannish things, needs to be doing things that, quite frankly, most men do. And trust me, I've done a lot of that in my life. However, there's still a part of me that still hungers to be a bit of a child to a certain degree. It's that little bit of you that keeps you who you are. Now, that was a different conversation altogether, but the fact of the matter is that when people go into films, they go into a film for a reason. They don't want to get preached to. Look, if you want to go to a chick flick and watch a rom-com, romantic comedy, obviously you're going to want to watch a romantic comedy. If you want to watch a Marvel film, obviously you want to be entertained. If you show up to an action film, obviously you want to be entertained. You don't want to be preached to. You go to a horror movie, you want to see an actual horror movie. You want to see an actual thriller. You don't want to get the message while you're inside the movie theater. I mean, it's bad enough that we got people like Ridley Scott making films like Napoleon, which were absolutely horrible, and then telling the historical or history buff crowd at the same time they can piss off. Also, to go on top of that, it's also kind of what I just said about Ridley Scott, because he's not the only one. These people will make this product, then get turned right back around after they make the product, not getting the result they want, get pissed off with you, attack you online because these people made a crappy product. They think it's your fault that you didn't like it. Films, comedy, this is all subjective, dude. Okay, everybody has their own thing that they like, and of course, a lot of people are getting fed up with the snootiness out of Hollywood writers, and also they're also getting tired of critics who, quite frankly, shill for the product. At the end of the day, it's the audience score that matters, what the audience thinks, not what the actual writers and directors think. All right, that right there is the reason why it is you make movies. You make it so that way people can see it, people can enjoy it, people can learn from it. However, though, they also don't want to be preached to, and they don't want identity politics and intersectionality thrown into their face. Case in point, once again, with Deadpool.
Seems that Marvel are getting a bit tired of losing billions of dollars and turning their own fans against them by trying to inject the message into what used to be crowd-pleasing general-purpose entertainment, and are quietly changing course. And the first step down that path is to clean house behind the scenes, getting rid of the activists and the idiots that have derailed so many projects since Endgame. I mean, it only took them like 5 years to recognise a problem that people like me have been pointing out since 2019, but hey, better late than never, I guess. And damn man, they really flew under the radar with this one. I had no idea this had been going on until Chris brought it up, and I suspect that was the intention all along. But the more I think about it, the more sense it actually makes. Big companies like Disney, Marvel aren't in the habit of straight up admitting that they've screwed up and need to take drastic action to
Let's also throw this out there. Nobody who is successful wants to admit that they failed. Nobody who's successful wants to admit that their product is failing, hence what the Draker said here. What was it? Going into this weekend, it was like $600 million that Deadpool Wolverine had made. I mean, it just seems to me like the tide has turned and people are giving the, let's just say, it seems to me like people are just giving the finger to anything that's foreign or completely unheard of. I mean, a lot of these characters that Marvel's making films on, of course, these are her preachy films, are characters that nobody really truly keeps up with. I just figure I would point that out there because obviously when you think of Marvel, you think of Iron Man, you think of Spider-Man, you think of X-Men, you think of, you think of the Avengers as a whole, Thor, Captain America, you think of that, Guardians of the Galaxy. Just some of these characters that these films are based upon, nobody really actually follows. I mean, which was already a venture that, quite frankly, I thought was already bad. I mean, look at how they introduced Black Panther in Civil War. That was the right way to do it. They weren't able to introduce these other characters the way they introduced T'Challa. So, I mean, that right there is obviously going to be a problem as well. It's not just the activist side, it's also bad decisions that Marvel has made, especially when it comes to introducing new characters. I just figured I'd point that out before we go any further. Lucasfilm, of course, won't take a hint. Disney as a whole won't take a hint. Look, I've been saying for a long time that Disney, or at least the film side of Disney, was already dead. It's been dead for a while. Which also is a good opportunity for me to lead into a nice little segue about what's going to be happening the rest of the year, because I did want to do a video explaining exactly what was going to happen for the rest of the year on this channel, seeing how it is. I got to go back into surgery here in a couple of weeks. But it's starting to look up, at least as far as Marvel is concerned. But I did say that I was going to give you guys a quick thought on what I thought was going to happen with RDJ and exactly how they were going to work that in. My thinking is that what they're probably going to do with him is that they're probably going to create some form of alternate timeline where Tony Stark became Doctor Doom. I mean, it's the only way I can see it working, or it's the only way I can see it making any form of sense. Of course, it would be convoluted and people will rip it to shreds. And from what I understand, it's 2 Avengers films that they plan on having out over the course of the next 3 or 4 years. So it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what they do. But the fact that they had to go back to Robert Downey Jr. and bring him back, that says a lot about Marvel's current situation. Just figure I would say that. With that right there being said, let's go ahead and get to those small little updates I was going to throw out there. I'm going to probably have updates in video number 2. I didn't plan on doing a second video, but I am going to be doing one here in a second. So make sure you guys stick around for the updates here, and then we'll go ahead and close the video out and let you guys get back to what you're doing. I'm thinking for the past couple of weeks that maybe I should do a lot more pop culture and sports content, because obviously that right there is what I originally intended to do, was to fight the left all that battlefield of this channel, but obviously things happened when back in 2020, and it kind of sent me into a different direction. And of course, I've dabbled with the idea of doing more and more and more videos on actual film and fighting back against the left that way, especially to save our culture, because if you can save pop culture, then you've already won half the fight, because the truth be told is this is how they get their propaganda out. Now, starting next year, I'm going to start doing a lot more of these type videos that I just did now. The reason why is because I think that they're more effective when it comes to fighting on the battlefield that we're fighting, to actually help save the country itself. If you can save pop culture, if you can save sports, you can save everyday activities. At the end of the day, people just kind of learn to ignore the mainstream media's BS and lies. And it's also, I think one of the main reasons why it is, I think that we're winning the culture war is because of channels that were mentioned earlier that have been fighting back against the crazy nonsense, which of course is what they're doing to the film industry. I mean, this is our entertainment. It's our outlet. It's how it is that we kind of get away from the nonsense of the day. Obviously, you want to be entertained and not preached to. Now, the thing is this right here. The more and more and more I've looked at this situation, the more and more and more I've realized that the current modern day politics, it can turn you into a hateful person if you're not careful. I'm not a hateful person, never have been or anything like that, but I can kind of see myself becoming exactly what I don't want to be. Yes, insert Batman reference, insert Dark Knight reference there. But still, the point is this right here. Over the course of the year, obviously, I'm going to be covering more and more and more of the election stuff. Come next year, that right there is where I'm going to go ahead and switch the content over to the more video essay type content. And of course, I'm probably going to focus a lot more on pop culture and sports for that to start things off with. And of course, I'll probably split the current events probably into another channel, which may, of course, eventually become the overall full-blown media criticism channel. Just give you guys a bit of a heads up. It's something I'm thinking about, something I wanted to discuss. And obviously, I'm going to bring it back up in video number 2. So make sure you guys stick around for that one. With that right there being said, tell me what you think in the comment section. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share the video. Please sound off. And I'll see you guys later.